Welcome back. I'm so excited to invite you in for another awesome conversation with one of the featured speakers and trainers from the Woman Leader Summit. My name is Jenny DuFresne. I'm the founder of the Woman Leader Summit, and I'm super excited to welcome my female business owners, my game changing women, and anyone else who's interested in business and thinking about business. Because today's conversation is something that most business owners, especially those that are building and scaling to $1 million business, most of us really struggle with. And that is building that team, but more importantly, delegating. So if you've been a solopreneur and you're now building in a place you're going to grow your team, or if you have a team and you're still doing all the work, this conversation with Melissa Johnson is going to be a great treat. So I'm welcoming in Melissa Johnson. Welcome to the stage. Glad to have you. Sorry about that. It was a quick. so excited you're here. And just as we kick off today, Melissa, one, thank you for being a trainer and speaker, and really a wisdom sharer at the Woman Leader Summit 2021, which will happen July 17th. I'm very excited to have you. You have an amazing background. But tell us a little bit about, as we start talking more about the businesses that you've built, tell us kind of, when you started thinking about your business and then you started growing your business, like where was that point where you figured out, I need to learn how to delegate. I need to learn how to offload some of the stuff that's on my plate and give it to others.
Sure. So thank you for inviting me in to speak and to share. I'm really excited about that and always happy to share what I've learned over the years as an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur for 18 years and it's been a journey, and I think that, one of the biggest things that I learned in this journey is how to delegate and why that is important. So basically what happened for me and my business, we'd started the business. I'm in real estate investing. So we were flipping houses and it was going okay. It was going fine. We had deals coming in. We were managing everything, but I'm also a mom. And so I've got, at that time, there was only 3 kids. I have 5 now. So that became important later on. But, really working in that business and it was okay. But when you want to, the whole point of being an entrepreneur, I feel like a lot of times is, we love starting things and we love, starting things, getting them going and then go on to the next thing. Right. And we were at that next phase point. And so we'd started a software company in addition to our other companies. So that was a big startup endeavor, but it left me kind of holding the bag in the house flipping stuff. So before it was 2 of us, my husband at the time and I doing everything. So we're wearing all the hats in our business. All the hats. I was a project manager. I was the bookkeeper. I was servicing our notes. I was doing all the dispo and the transaction coordinating. So very, very involved in that part of the business. And when we started the software company, it became very apparent that we cannot keep up this pace. We cannot build another new business and still maintain what we have. And so we made the decision to sort of split our focuses. So my husband took over the software and I would still help with that. But really everything was left to me. So I'm sitting here like, okay, well now it's just me and there are still all the hats to be worn.
Right.
And so the big lesson here was I need help. So there's a few things with that. One is just being humble enough to say, okay, I really can't do this on my own. I need help.
That's huge. Yeah, that's a huge one.
And especially for women, right? Like we never want to ask for help. We want to be able to show everyone that we can do everything. We can juggle all the balls in the air and not drop a single thing. And that's really dangerous. It's a dangerous place to be. And so when I was stuck with all the hats, it's like, okay, well, I need help. So what do I need to do? Well, I need to hire people. That was kind of the first step. Is finding the right people, but also finding the right people for the right seat at the right time.
At the right time. Yeah. That's a huge, and I know we're going to talk about that specifically when we have you back again in a couple of weeks. That is a really big deal because it also impacts your trust level to delegate, which is something that I think is really important. So hiring the right people, getting them in the right seats,
Mhm.
absolutely crucial. Once you kind of got that under your belt, what did you have to do to be able to go, oh, to trust, I guess, because this is a really big deal about trusting when I bring someone new in, how to trust that I can start to offload that. So what was that kind of mental process for you in order to start that, to be able to do that?
It was tough, right? Because another trait I found as entrepreneurs is we're control freaks. We
It's
wanna
sad.
we wanna control all of it, I'm not gonna deny I'm a control freak. So it was hard, to let things go, and it was I feel like I had a special challenge too there just because I'd never been in a management or a
Mhm.
supervisor position in any other job that I'd had before. So I literally knew nothing about hiring, about managing, about leading a team. So
Mhm.
there was a huge learning curve there for me. And the trust part of it was a big part of that. But I think, if you've got a solid hiring process, which we will talk about, in the
Yeah,
summit, which
yeah.
I'm excited about because I really dialed that in. It went from just this random kind of hiring,
Mhm.
to really nailing that process down and being able to find the right people. And so I think that was like an important piece is just the hiring process itself and knowing how to vet people and knowing what we're looking
Mhm.
for and understanding what the culture of our company is and making sure
Mhm.
people we're hiring for a fit there. Very
Absolutely.
important things.
Those are really important. So did you find that your hiring, like getting that hiring process really tightened up, getting it clear? I'm assuming that didn't happen overnight, first of all, but
Mm-mm.
as you got it clearer, is that what gave you more comfort in then starting to kind of practice the art of delegation? Or did you hire and then delegate and then have to retract? Like kind of what, because I know creating a hiring process, every hiring, as many models as there are to hire, hiring for your company or my company or one of the people who'll be coming to our summit, hiring for their company is different for each of us. There are some key pieces that are the same, but our cultures are not the same. Our leadership styles are not the same. Even, what we have going on isn't the same. So was it getting that hiring process really solid that then enabled you to maximize the art of delegation? Or what happened in that process for you?
Yeah, I think it's really, for me, what I realized it was trial and error at first, right?
Mhm,
Because,
mhm.
you go through this thing, well, we just need a cog in the wheel kind of a
Right.
thing. And then you're hiring like cog in the wheel sort of positions and it's not working.
Right.
And then you figure out, okay, well, it's not working because they're not a cultural fit. We need to dig into
Right.
that a little bit, So
Right.
it was like putting all these little pieces together. But then also, like something I talk a lot about and I think is super important is that you've got to have solid processes in place for your whole business, not just the hiring,
Mhm.
because that is what allows you to delegate. So once you're comfortable and your processes are documented and they're set and they're proven, it makes it easier to trust people because you can trust the process.
Mhm.
It's when you are able to get it to a point where this is, a very like, here is the manual of how to do your
Right.
job.
Right.
And now I can trust you to do that because we have a solid process in place behind it. And, we're checking these other things like you're a cultural fit and, things like that too.
Gotcha. So something that you just shared makes me think that how a business matures, these things mature with it. So, if you're, I don't know, 5 years in business, I don't know how long you were in business at that time when you started really kind of, buckle down
Mm.
and make
14
sure.
years.
Oh, okay. So we don't
14
have to
years.
feel bad. Great. So we
No.
don't have to feel bad. So here's the shout out to everybody. If you're 2 or 3 years in and you're looking and listening to us going, I don't have a process, or I don't know how to hire people, or don't worry. It takes a while. And it takes lots of trial and error, as Melissa just said. Um, so as you got those processes in place, and again, I'm assuming that it's not as sort of linear, right? It's that you might have started to work on your culture early on, started to get that to a place, but as you invited people into your culture, you said, "Oh wait, we need to make some changes and tighten that up. Even our culture needs to be tightened up. We need to document a process. How long, because we're talking to leaders that might be and business owners that may be, I don't know, they could be 2 or 3 years in, they could be 5 or 6 years in and looking to scale and grow to $1 million. How long did it kind of take this process to get, to get your hiring process kind of really where it was more, kind of smoother? Like what was that like for you?
I think, probably about a year, honestly.
Mhm.
Like I said, it was a lot of trial and error and a lot of just figuring things out. So it took time, to build all those pieces. But once all the pieces fell into place, it works so smoothly, like it's just seamless after that.
And did
But
you
I mean,
get
it does take a while to build that kind of stuff up because you don't know what you don't know. And as you start
right?
hiring people, like I have this example that I like to use to tell people, like just as a culture example, I'd hired a cog in the wheel person and I wasn't thinking about culture. I was just thinking about
Mm,
can they do the job and hired her, realized over time that she had no interest in improving herself because that was one of
mm,
our weekly, things that we hit on in our staff meetings, like what'd you do this weekend? And I'm
mm,
always listening for improvement, self-improvement, because that's one of our core values is always
mm,
improving
mm,
and both professionally and personally. And so when somebody's coming in every week, it's like, well, I went to the grocery store, I watched a movie, or I watched TV all weekend. It's like, you're not really growing, and there seems
mhm,
to be no effort there. And it was like really dragging the team down.
mm,
You
mhm,
could see it, on their faces, and everyone was just kind of like, okay.
mm, mhm.
But
That's
I didn't
fascinating.
realize
Yeah.
it at the time that like, okay, she was not a cultural fit and it was affecting the whole team,
Yep.
just
Yeah.
that one little piece. So that was actually a core value. After we let her go, we ended up bringing back in because we had thrown it out thinking, well, that's not as important as these other core values. Well, when we put somebody in that spot and they weren't fitting into that core value, it's like, no, we need to bring that back. That's way too important.
Well, this is a you. I mean, you're writing the book basically on what a lot of leaders in big corporations struggle with today. A lot of our, we have a lot of conversations with leaders, and this is outside of kind of regular business conversations that are struggling with these exact things, the core values. Developing those, developing and really starting to live and be the culture of your organization. So those are some things that I think are, and I guess as I'm listening to you, I'm reminded that those things are still part of the puzzle pieces that enable you as the CEO of your company to be able to delegate or to be able to hire people that you can delegate certain key roles and tasks to, because those elements of culture, mission, vision, values, those pillars are really, really critical to your overall functioning and processes. It's all the way around. It's super important.
Oh yeah.
Um,
It's the filter you run everything through,
Right.
essentially.
So if you were having a conversation with a woman business owner who, let's say she's had her company 3 years and she's made that, let's say she's had a good hiring process in place. She's getting people who are, or getting a person who's really dynamic. What would be the like one or two things you would tell her to do first to begin to set herself up to to delegate? So what would be the advice or recommendation? So, hey, do these two things to be able to get yourself mentally ready to start delegating.
I think, communication is
Mm,
definitely important. So you have got to make sure that you are on the same page with every person on your team, that you're communicating clearly and often. I
mhm,
think that makes a huge difference. And then, I think just going back to that trust in your process. So having the right processes to do the job, not just the
mhm,
hiring process, but to actually fulfill that role. When those are in place, and then you have that trust in that person because you vetted them through your process and they meet all the requirements, and then they have all the tools that they need to do the job. And I think that's, maybe that's the better way of saying that. Like you have to set them up for success in order to be able to feel good about delegating things off and kind of stepping back from it. And delegating doesn't mean just turning your back on stuff. Like, okay, here, like you take all this stuff and I'm just going to go over here and like lay on the beach for a while. It sounds great. And that's what it seems like looking at social media. Probably people will have that impression, but really like you always got your finger on the pulse of the business. But when you've got people in place that you can trust, you can delegate and you can not walk away, but you can step back and take that 30,000 foot view of your business rather than being, all in the weeds doing stuff all the time.
I think that's a huge, huge lesson, I think, for any business owner. And I was just recently talking to someone who basically was excited to get to hire someone. And so I can dump all this stuff on them and, go do something else. And in reality, you can't, because I think there's still a responsibility that leaders have to, we normally have to tell people maybe 7 or 8 times to make sure that they've got our culture, they got the values, they understand those elements. But then the other thing is there's a delegation and accountability are kind of intertwined, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a cautionary tale and an important piece of wisdom to remember that we don't just push things off on people, delegating them, and then turn off and go do something else. We have to have another system to check in to make sure that there's any questions that need to be asked or answered, and that we always kind of have our finger on the pulse. I think that's really, really, really important.
Right. And as you grow too, just knowing like, it comes in tiers, right? Like when you're growing, you're hiring, to offload small things. But as you get to a certain point, having like a management person, like a COO or something like that was game changing for me, because then I'm not having to go to each person on the team to manage them. I just go to the one person and that's all I need to do. All I need to do is communicate really with that. I mean, I'm communicating with everyone on the team, but as far as management goes and supervision, you go to that COO and they're managing everybody else on the team. That extra layer is really like next level, so you might have a small team, but then the next level would be putting that management person in place that can really oversee the day to day.
And I think with that, for me, from my lens, that allows the scalability, right?
Yes.
So, and I think this is an area that particularly women leaders, women business owners, women entrepreneurs can sometimes struggle with, is that kind of doing it all myself and then giving away little pieces, but still doing them. That's not called delegation. Just so we all know, that's not delegating. But the other component of this, which is all around the Woman Leader Summit, talking about the tools to help you grow your business to $1 million. And that really comes from the American Express study that says, women are the fastest group of people who are founding new businesses, but only 4% of women ever hit the $1 million mark, which is, I was just like, wait, what? So we are instrumental to the economic engine of this country. And a lot of women are only getting to about 142,000 in annual revenue, which is not enough to allow us to be able to hire, a COO necessarily, and that. But tell us a little bit about so you said 14 years, you were getting those processes finally, and you guys started 2 companies, which were very different. And I think this is also important. Entrepreneurship is, we do lots of different things. And so it makes these processes, getting those implemented, more important, and learning how to delegate is critical. So walk us through kind of where were you as you made these steps? Like as you hired the cogs in the wheel, you figure out that wasn't working. Like how far were you in your business? Where were you kind of in revenue, or where were you in the number of houses you guys were handling? And again, I'm just talking about the volume of what you guys are managing.
Yeah, that was the crazy part. Like I was talking about talking about this with somebody the other day, because, thinking about this conversation that we were going to have and taking some time to reflect on like, what did that look like? Because it's been a while, and when you're in it, you're not really thinking about it as much as when you're through it, and then you're looking back and it's like, oh yeah, that was a big lesson. It took probably about a year to get all those processes in place. But once we did, man, like we went from doing probably I don't know, maybe like 15, 20 deals a year tops. And I'd say that like that's like wholesaling and flipping mixed
Mhm.
together. Flips take longer than wholesale deals do. But after I had a full team in place, we were doing 50 plus deals a year, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but it's how I choose to run my business, which is another
Mhm.
cool thing about being an
Mhm.
entrepreneur. I'm more focused on doing better deals with bigger spreads versus
Mhm.
doing small time deals and having to do a ton of them. So I like to
Gotcha.
run efficient and lean with the team and
Mhm.
do better deals. And so um, that really changed things. But once I got the systems and processes in place to do that, the right people in place, and then we were able to like hit the go button, just like, okay, now we're ready to go. We've got the full
Right.
team built out, which took a little bit of time because we had to strategically hire each person, again, back to
Mhm.
that timing thing.
Mhm.
And we built it up to 7-figure business, and we're on track for 8 figures.
That's awesome. And what size of team do you have now?
Well, the team that's all changed a little bit for me.
Okay.
So actually, I went through a divorce last year. I know
Mhm.
you and I talked about
Right.
that, and it really changed a lot of things. And there was a lot of reflection and kind of, do I still want to do this? So I
Mhm.
actually slowed that business down and started another business, just
True
because
entrepreneur.
yeah, I'm a serial entrepreneur, but I love the industry that I'm in. So
Mhm.
it sounds crazy like I'm starting all these businesses, but they're all within the same industry,
Mhm. Mhm.
So I started the coaching business. So the team looks much smaller now because we're not doing as many deals. I'm more focused on let's do just what we need to do
Mhm.
um, in the house flipping company, and then focusing on the coaching. So building that business up. And then now I'm working with a software company, building that up, also a different software company. So you know, the revenue is still good. I mean, we just did a deal like last month and we cleared like 100 grand on that one deal.
That's
So
awesome.
for me, it's like, what if I could just do like, 3 of those a year?
Right. Right.
I don't really need to do more. If I want to, I can. The processes and everything is in place to scale that if I would choose to. But that's the other cool thing. You can choose once you've got it all in place, you can, hit the gas, and do as much as you want, or you
Right.
can pull it back. You can go either way, but it's all there built correctly with a good foundation.
So, a few really important takeaways for those who are listening now and those who are going to hear this on a replay. One really important takeaway is the stronger your processes that I'm hearing from Melissa, and I know this, but I want to cue people into it. Is the stronger the processes and the clearer your processes, the better or faster you can scale because you're able to. It's just like a machine, right? Like once you have a clear process that has gone through a few tests, every process has to be tested. Don't write the process out and then think you can throw it out there and it'll work. They have to be tested in kind of real time. But once you have a strong, solid process, it is the accelerator really to being able to scale your business, and that's any kind of business. Melissa's talking about real estate investment, real estate development, software development, as well as coaching. As you can see, the processes that have been learned along the way can go to either any of these businesses, right? Yes, the
Absolutely.
industry can be different. We're talking to women who are in service-based businesses. So whether you're coaching or you're in real estate doing some investing, no matter the industry, the key elements that I want people to focus in on is delegating um, to team members means that you've gotten your culture clear, your core values clear, and they're operating, and you've gotten really clear processes for everything in your company. Those are really really important pieces. So, Melissa, when you said so you got to a place, and in terms of kind of I guess almost sort of the phase growth of your company, what was the thing and then you brought on a COO. So you brought on someone that could free you up so you can be a lot more strategic as a CEO.
Mhm.
What was the thing that you learned about delegating that surprised you? Like, you know, something that
That's
just
an easy
surprised you
one.
about delegating. What's that?
That's an easy one. You know what it was?
What?
What surprised me the most was how easy it was.
So tell us, why was it easy? Because people get freaked out like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know how to delegate like this." this isn't going to work. They're not going to do what I said, or, oh God, they didn't. So what was easy? And again, you're a mom of five.
Yes.
At the time, spouse and two businesses and family commitments and community obligations and payroll.
Yeah.
So payroll. So what was easy?
Once you realize how freeing it is to delegate something, it becomes easier. It's just like anything else. Like it's uncomfortable at first, but it's a point of growth. So once you're able to, if you can just do it once, and you can start small, you don't have to, it's not like I went and built a team overnight. It was very incremental, and it was very strategic how I did it, because, being a control freak, and also the cost of hiring people and finding people and stuff like that. Like, it has to be done responsibly. You have to scale responsibly. But once I was able to start letting things go and realizing how much time it was saving me and how much more freedom I had, it became easier and easier to hand more things off. And to the point where it's like, what am I even doing? Like, I didn't really have a whole lot to do anymore except think strategically, which is one of my strengths. It's like, okay, well, all that's running now. Like, what else can we do? Or how can we improve this? Or how can we do something better? Or what's some cool, like, new idea that we can implement in here? And that's when you really have the opportunity to innovate and to really work on your business after you delegate that out. But it's not that hard to do once you have your processes, and then you just start doing it. You've got to just start doing it, but do it in a way, that makes you comfortable. If you're not comfortable with letting your bookkeeping go first, don't. Maybe it's something else until you get to that level, where you do feel comfortable handing that off. But just the way my life changed doing that. And what I realized too, is it actually had bleed over into my personal life. So before, again, talking about, like, we're women, we have to do everything, we're juggling, we got to manage the house and the kids and the work and everything. And I actually started delegating in my personal life too, and at first I thought, like, I can't afford this, because we all say it, like, I can't afford a house cleaner, or what are people going to think, You got to get over that. You can't afford not to sometimes. And once you see your time, what your value is in your time, you can't afford not to. Like, I hired somebody to clean my house. I have somebody to clean my pool. I have somebody to cut my grass. These are all tasks that I shouldn't be spending time on. It was very easy once I got used to doing it in business. What else can I delegate? Everything.
Yeah, that is huge, and it's a huge lesson. I was actually just a few minutes ago doing a keynote and talked about this when I was leading, had 65 team members, and working crazy hours. That the one thing that was keeping me super stressed out was the fact that my house was dirty and I was trying to clean it. And then my mother said one day, "Why don't you just hire someone to do that?" And I was like, and I'm sharing this because a lot of women would be like, "No, I can't do that. It's my responsibility."
Right.
Okay, I went and hired someone, and then I was like, why did I ever spend so much time and stress trying to do this? And so that's a huge lesson. And I think it's the thing that I would say that, just because I know you and we've had conversations, is that delegating is something that I really stress for women leaders to be able to do, women business owners, because it allows us to be able to actually give more genius to the world. It gives us the opportunity. I know you make art, so it gives you the opportunity to be able to tap into these amazing gifts, and be able to share more amazing gifts. If you want to write a book, it's very difficult to write a book and be managing the kids and the dog and the pool and the grass and the cars and all this stuff, right? And so I think it's a really really huge and important thing. As we close out today, what's one thing that you would encourage a woman business owner who's listening right now, who's maybe she's got a couple of team members on? What's one thing she can do to kind of move out of her own way and start delegating to her team? If she's hired well, let's say she's hired well, what's one thing that she can do to move out of her own way, and start this?
I think That's kind of a hard question, right? Because everybody's different. But I
Mhm.
think that there needs to be a level of self-awareness to say, I'm the bottleneck in my business because that's what we
Mhm.
do. We become the bottleneck,
Yeah.
and it's from not delegating. So if you can take some time to really like analyze your business, look at your business and ask yourself and be honest with yourself, am I a bottleneck in my business? Are things not happening because somebody's waiting on me? And when
Right.
you find that is happening often, and ask your team, if you have a good culture that you promote good communication, they should be able to tell you honestly, like, yeah, you kind of are the bottleneck, we need to get
Yeah.
this or that done. And then, like, okay, it's time to start delegating some things. It's time to start offloading some of this stuff. But you've got to take that honest evaluation of yourself and your business as a whole and see if you are the problem.
So that is $1 million piece of advice for sure. I think it is imperative for women business owners, and leaders to really look at that. Where am I the bottleneck in my own company? Because that's exactly where your company stops growing, actually. But it's a great opportunity for it to start growing when you can be able to get out of the way. So, Melissa, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to see your face and to talk to you and feel your energy. I'm really excited and grateful to have you at the Woman Leader Summit as one of our featured speakers. Your business systems genius is going to be the expertise that the women leaders who are coming and women business owners who are coming will be able to tap into. And for all of you who are looking to come to the summit, it's the link is here, leaderstransform.com/WLS 2021. We are excited to welcome you. And like I've said, this is a practical summit. So it's not going to be a lot of rah-rah. It's really about real practical tools, because all of the women who are coming, who are business owners, who are going to be doing the training, all of us are really about the business of women empowerment, moving you and your business forward so that you can be able to serve your families if that's what you choose to do with the money that you generate, serve your community, or just create great businesses that provide greatness to the world. So thank you so much, Melissa. Again, thank you for coming, and I'm really looking forward to July 17th to have more of your genius.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to sharing.
Awesome. All right. Thanks a bunch.